Hi, everyone. I'll fix that a little bit. Thanks for all being here and for on a Saturday. So we're going to go ahead and get this started. So this
Yeah,
is
and also,
our,
sorry about that.
okay, go
I just
ahead.
wanted to say that if you could turn your video on, that'd be great. But also, we are recording this to like post onto our YouTube channel. So if you're not comfortable with that, that's totally fine. Okay.
All right. Thanks for that. And then welcome to the Career Planning and Job Hunting Workshop for today. I'm your speaker. I'm Karen Ha, and want to give a big shout out to the internet team for hosting and working with me on this workshop. And so before we dive into that, I'm going to go ahead and give a small little introduction about myself. Like I said, my name is Karen. I'm happy to be here. And here's a little bit about me. I graduated from UCSB and started working in the quote unquote real world. I wanted to host this workshop because I want to offer some advice and tips on career planning and job hunting in general, because back in high school, I really didn't have too much guidance from a lot of people around me. I was oldest in my family, first to go to college, didn't really have a lot of resources that were open to me, or there were resources that I, didn't know about. So I felt really lost and, had to really find my way through in terms of like going to college and like after that, figuring out what I wanted to do afterwards and how to even land my first job. So I really wanted to host this to also, give you guys a little help and advice, in any way that I can. And that's why I'm here to help. I hope that you can take away something and learn something from today from this presentation. And so here we go. Hope everyone had a nice week. And thanks for doing our little icebreaker. Looks like most of you are high school students. And I'm glad all of you took some time to be here for today, because it never hurts to really start planning and thinking of these things early, because honestly, it's to your advantage, to have things, planned out and mapped out. It really is. I mean, it's okay to figure it out later, but again, it saves you a lot of time, sometimes even money. So let's get this started. So I'm going to go over a few topics that I have here for you for today. And if you have any questions or comments, kind of like what we said in the beginning, you can save those at the end for the of the presentation, or you can leave those in the chat box, and we will be taking them one by one later on at the end. So be patient. We will get to you. And I'm going to go ahead and get started. So first topic I want to talk about is career planning. Explore your interests. Seems kind of straightforward, but it's like with anything else, it's important to have a plan so you can map things out so that you know how to get there. And this might seem really obvious, but you might be surprised that not a lot of people actually take advantage of the opportunities, to do this during their education career. It's especially easier on you if you're a high school student or if you're a college student, because while you're in the education system, you have a lot of resources and a lot of people who are trying to support you and do want you to succeed. So it's very, very important to start looking into these things now while you're still in the early stages. It's definitely the perfect time to start go and try new things, and join clubs, volunteer, sign up for classes that you think you might be interested in. But it really doesn't hurt to try new things. From personal experience, I remember I had this thought that I was never going to be interested in anything technology related, and that kind of held me back from like exploring a little bit about that early on during my high school years. So just keep that in mind. Don't be afraid to try new things. Just go out there, and you never know, you might stumble upon something that you end up really enjoying and really want to know more about, and maybe that might end up being even your future career. It sounds cheesy, but sometimes you really just never know, and just being open to trying new things can open you to a lot of possibilities. And research different areas. Google is definitely your best friend. You can always start looking up different careers to see what's right for you. Read about other people who are already in those fields to kind of get a taste of how they get to where they are, and if you want to follow that path, or if you want to take a different path, or if that's something you want to do. And this is also where LinkedIn comes in, so we will definitely be going into detail about that later. But LinkedIn is basically a tool that will definitely help you with your career in a lot of different aspects. And do your research to see like if anything, like career wise, how you're going to get there, what kind of education you need, and what kind of skill levels. Some might need masters, some might, just require a high school degree. But mostly nowadays, definitely, most commonly, you're going to need at least a bachelor's degree for a lot of jobs. So definitely do your research. And there's no substitution for that, because there's certain programs that you might not know about or certain resources that you might not know about if you don't do your research. And I had to learn this the hard way from my own personal experience because, you know, not knowing research really limited, not doing a lot of research in the beginning of my career planning stages really limited to what kind of resource I had on hand, which is not a lot. So keep that in mind. If you have some free time, definitely look into what you can do and what programs are available to you. It only helps. And don't forget to ask important questions, when you're planning your career. Make sure to ask questions of like, can I picture myself doing this for a long time? How's the pay? What are the required education for this? What is the future growth looking like for this specific career? Am I okay with this work life balance for this career? And those are really important things that you should consider when you're thinking of, if you want to go down this career path, if you want to go down a different career path, because ultimately you're going to be the one who's going to be pursuing that career for a huge portion of your life. And you don't want to be stuck with something that, you don't like doing or, that doesn't fit your kind of lifestyle that you want, at the end. So ask yourself those questions as you try to plan for yourself because those are important things for all of us. I know we're still young right now. Most of you are definitely still young right now, but at the end of the day, make sure once you start thinking about career, those are some questions that you should try to ask yourself because, depending on how you prioritize, these aspects, if you prioritize work-life balance more or pay more, you really want to find a career that's tailored for you and fit to you. We're going to spend a huge part of your life working and you don't want to be unhappy or like suffering because of your job. And at the end, my last point I want to make here, it's okay to not know yet. Most of you are just in high school, you're barely starting, trying to find your own interests, trying to like get down to learning about like different careers that you can pursue, it's definitely okay not to not know yet, but just keep that in mind, while it's okay to not freak out, it's really going to be easier for you if you try to at least narrow down your interests because you want to map this out earlier, like I keep saying, because there are programs and resources that have very strict timelines that you have to follow. And I kind of learned this once I got into college. Fortunately for me, I already knew what I kind of wanted to major in and what I wanted to pursue. But if you say, for example, get into college, as undecided, and you end up taking a bunch of GE classes, general education classes, and then you figure out that you want to pursue like engineering or computer science, then depending on the school and the program that they have, sometimes they have a very strict timeline of like, okay, you have to take this amount of classes by a certain amount of time, or they have a schedule that you have to follow. And because you decided on that major a little later compared to the rest of your class, that could really, hurt you in terms of like you might have to stay a fifth year and that could cause extra money, depending if you want that or not. So it's just like, again, it doesn't hurt to kind of explore your interests early and get to know, what's right for you, what's not right for you early, so you can make these decisions a little early on to benefit yourself. Because yeah, you don't want to have to go down and realize, oh no, I have to spend more time or spend more money, or not everyone has that luxury. If you do, great, but that's just if you don't. And with that said, don't freak out. It's a slow process. You're getting started, so take your time. You're still in high school, but this is definitely don't waste this time and use this time to really try to like figure out what's right for you and what's not right for you. You will thank yourself later on. Trust me. So I'm going to go ahead and go to the next slide. And the next thing I want to talk about after you sort of have an idea of what kind of career you want to pursue is to have like a job hunting plan, start building your resume and etc. So I'm going to transition to this job hunting plan because once you decide on your career, you're going to be taking classes, and start doing things that are going to be related to the field that you get into. Other than that, you can also look into, job shadowing, internship opportunities that can really get your foot through the door in that field. And a lot of these internship and job shadowing opportunities are mostly offered when you are still in school. So it is to your benefit to take advantage of these opportunities because once you graduate high school, graduate college, and get into the workforce, not a lot of people are going to be there's not a lot of opportunities for you to pursue, like ask someone if I can job shadow you, or intern for like different companies. So make sure to try to look into these programs and opportunities while you're still in school and take advantage of them, because those are the opportunities where you're going to meet people and get to network and get your foot through the door in whatever career that you end up pursuing. So, in order to do that, you're going to need to start building your resume. And although you're still young in high school, most of you, I'm going to say, are probably not working yet. But if you are, great. If you aren't, that's okay too. You can build your resumes through a lot of different ways. Job experience is only one way. You can definitely start, doing clubs. Make sure, try to hold positions in those clubs to show that you have some leadership skills. Not just join a club as a member. There's not a lot to say on your resume if you're just a member. Take advantage of volunteer opportunities. I've noticed there's a lot of volunteer opportunities online as well, that you can take advantage of. um, and ask if you can talk to other people about their jobs as well. Those are some ways that you can start kind of like building your resumes. You can also add awards to your resume as well, and license certifications and stuff like that, which there's a lot of these programs and opportunities once you Google them, and depending on which area that you want to get into. And then the second point I want to get into is looking to job shadowing. Although I don't know how that would work during COVID, but I believe there's a lot of people out there who are very open for young students to job shadow them, because once they get to higher up in their field, they kind of want to give back, and usually a lot of people are pretty welcoming towards students who reach out to them to ask about if I could job shadow you or something like that. Basically, what that is just you're kind of following this person day to day in their career, like for a couple of days, and to really learn more about what their daily tasks are, what they do, so that you can basically learn more about that job and see if that's the area that you want to ultimately get into later on. And think about, it's often, I want to say that this is a very overlooked thing that most students don't tend to do, is job shadowing. So definitely take a look into that. Although it might be a little bit more difficult during COVID era because, you want to maintain your distance, but I'm sure you can also set something up through Zoom or online as well, depending if they want to or not to do with you. So definitely look into that if you want to further understand and learn more about whatever career path you're pursuing. Because again, you want to know what you're getting yourself into. You don't want to take all these classes, do all these projects, volunteer work to get into something that ultimately you don't like. The whole point is just you want to get to know this to see if it's a fit for you. And apply for internships. Yeah, this is definitely more towards college students, but there's definitely I remember seeing some internship opportunities for when I was in high school as well, although they were pretty competitive, but still doable. And there are many internships at big companies for you, if for college students and for high school students. Don't quote me on the high school students part. There might be a bit limited for them, for you, which is you guys, but there are definitely some still out there. And this is a great way to get hands-on experience in your field, And honestly, some of these they pay you to do, these internships. So it's just you're also making money and learning more about this job and getting experience. Great. So definitely look into those opportunities and see if those are something that interests you. You want to get some hands-on experience and really understand, if this is something you want to keep going with, pursuing. Some of my friends in college, had done some internships in their field and realized, I really can't see myself doing something like this in the future. And then they ended up pursuing something else, which is perfectly fine, but the most important thing is that you really tried it out to see if it's really for you, so that you know that if this is something you want to keep pursuing or not, because the last thing you do is just you don't want to waste too much time on something that you don't end up liking. And during these internships is also when you'll get to meet other people who are just like you, trying to get their foot in the door, trying to get some experience. And along the way, you'll meet some relevant connections in that area that you're trying to get into. And you might even find someone who's willing to mentor you and give you advice and tips on how to like further your career in that field. So I highly recommend it. Again, you're just in high school right now, but these are some things that you should keep in mind once you get into college, no matter what kind of major you end up pursuing or what kind of career path you end up pursuing. So I think they're definitely super helpful. And with that, I want to segue into building relationships. No matter what you end up doing, job shadowing, internships, projects, or if you're volunteering, make sure to keep in touch with the supervisors or the managers who basically helped you throughout those projects, through those different positions, because you want to keep that connection going. You want to build relationships. And when you build those relationships, you never know when you might need a letter of recommendation for a program that you apply in the future, or if you need a referral for something. For example, say you intern for a big company, and after you're done with that internship, you decided you want to go back, you want to apply for a full-time role at that company. And that's where keeping in touch with your manager or supervisor would be to your advantage, because hey, then you can just, message them or call them and say, hey, so I'm really interested in coming back to your company, and I noticed that there was this position that's opened up. Would it be possible for you to refer me? And trust me, that job referral could really help boost your chances of landing that job versus someone who just found that job online and just like blankly applying out of the blue. That referral can help benefit you, and that's why it's so crucial to try to maintain that relationship with whatever supervisor or manager that you have, because if you end up working back with their company, you have that connection already there for you to set up for you to succeed. Or if you just want, for them to recommend you or refer you to somewhere else, and just having that connection there can really help you a lot. And I can vouch for this from personal experience. I met an alumni who we graduated from the same school, and I was telling her that I was applying to this position at her company, and I sent in an application actually a week before we ended up talking, and I didn't hear anything back, And then after I told her, I said, I'm kind of interested, and I applied, and she said, okay, just let me know which position you applied to. Send me your resume. And then she forwarded the resume to the hiring department at that company. And the next day, I heard back from the recruiters from the company, and I was just like, whoa, I did not expect this, because normally with any job at any company, it's just like it's a long waiting process, or you might not even hear back, to be honest with you. And just hearing back from recruiters reaching out, hey, let's schedule a call with you to do a phone screen. I was really surprised. So this is where a referral can really make or break your chance. So definitely build that relationships with any supervisor or manager that you have or whatnot, because you never know when that could help you. For me, it was just with an alumni from my school. So, and I want to also talk about virtual coffee chats. So normally what happens is that when you're hunting for a job, you kind of talk about, you want to reach out to other people who are already within that company or who are already in that field for coffee chats, where you kind of go out to the coffee shop to kind of really talk about their role and really express your interests, and of course during COVID, we can't really do that, but a lot of people are still doing virtual coffee chats, to really get to know other people in that career. So you can definitely do it the same way to help you with your job hunting plan, really get to know the role. Or once you have those coffee chats, you build that connection to, you maybe possibly ask if they can give you vouch for you and give you a referral as well. So it doesn't hurt, to reach out and ask people if they want to have a brief coffee chat. And I'm going to go ahead and go into a discussion about using LinkedIn. like we talked about in our first slide. So LinkedIn is a very powerful platform, networking tool, but only if you use it right. This is where you're going to build your connections, you know. You go in there, create your profile, start adding people that you know, and then worked with or go to school with. That's the generic use of LinkedIn, you know. And basically, I like to call it kind of like the job hunting social media. You know, you have Instagram, Facebook, you have Snapchat, but it's just like LinkedIn is strictly for work purposes. So just keep that in mind. Be professional. There has been a lot of people who aren't as professional on LinkedIn, and that could really backfire on you because nowadays almost all recruiters, you know, or hiring managers for different companies, I guarantee you will take a glance at your LinkedIn page before they proceed with hiring you, proceed with phone screening or interviewing you. So be professional and try to build a nice profile. Do not do anything, you know, inappropriate on your LinkedIn because that will hurt you. So this is not literally, you know, a social media platform for you to do whatever you want, like Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat. You know, this is keep it professional as well. This is the bottom line. And then you can use it to start looking at people who are already in the field that you want to work in as well. Who are the also those people who are working at dream companies that you are trying to aim for, and you can also find a way to connect with them, you know, or to learn more about how they get there by asking, you know, for a quick chat. This is where most people would ask for virtual coffee chats, which is using LinkedIn, kind of like a cold reach. Okay, I noticed this person is working as a, for example, let's say I'm interested in working as a as a software engineer for Microsoft. Then I would look at Microsoft and look at their list of people who are currently working at Microsoft and see who I want to reach out to on LinkedIn and ask them, hey, so, you know, you currently work at this excellent company, you know, I kind of really want to get there too. You know, I'm just starting, I'm on my way. Is there any tips or advice you want to give me? And those are great ways to reach out and really get some advice from people who are already in that company or in that field to really give you some useful advice to see if that could help you on your own career journey or see if you want to take that same way to get there, you know? And just keep in mind sometimes there's really no one way to get to where you want to be. There's almost always more than one way to do it, you know, and you can see how other people did it by looking at their profiles, you know. Oh, I see they went to this school, oh, they graduated with a different major, but somehow they ended up working as, you know, and something in completely different for like a company. So you kind of just, okay, there's definitely multiple ways to get there. So don't freak out. You know, not everyone starts at age 5 wanting to be a zookeeper and then, you know, ultimately stick with that all the way till adulthood and become a zookeeper. I mean, that still happens, but that's very rare. So just keep that in mind. There's multiple ways to get to wherever you want to be. Trust. And don't be afraid to connect. It might seem very intimidating at first, you know, to go on LinkedIn and see all these different profiles, and then you see all these people who are like super professional in all these very with all these fancy titles and stuff like that. Don't be intimidated by that. A lot of these people, I mean, we all started as students, you know. Everyone started as a kid, you know, students, and then started from somewhere to get to where they wanted to be, you know. So don't be afraid to reach out to some of these people, and more often than not, a lot of people, once they hear that, you know, you're a high school student or college student trying to learn more about their career, trying to get into that field, most of them have been there before, you know, and most likely than not, it's because somebody helped them out a little bit and that's how they got their foot in the door. So most of these people are pretty nice and generous enough that they will try to help you as well, you know, but only if you go about it correctly, you know. If you don't put enough effort into trying to connect with them, some of these people get like thousands and thousands of requests per day on LinkedIn to connect, or like cold emails in their boxes, and they can't respond to everyone. So you got to make sure, you know, you're putting in the effort and you stand out. You're not just sending some generic email to these people because they get a lot, and they can't answer to everyone. And be strategic too in who you want to reach out to. Don't just reach out to, randomly anyone in the company, because you want to remember to research every person before you reach out to them, to show that, you try to take an effort to really get to know them first, and before you reach out to them, so that it gives them a reason to basically help you, of all the people that reach out to them. And it shows professionalism, and so you're not wasting anyone's time, because you don't want to reach out to someone and then you end up talking and then they're in a completely different career space and they can't help you, and it ends up being this awkward situation of like, um wasting each other's time, your time and their time. So you want to make sure you research that ahead of time. And don't take it too personally too when they don't respond right away, especially if you're cold reaching out to them and you don't have any mutual connections with them. um, you have to keep reaching out to people who you think can help you, but it's just like sometimes they just might not respond, and it's okay. It might not be have anything to do with you personally. It just might be because they're busy, or they tend to not check their LinkedIn, or there's just too many. They're getting too many, and they can't respond all at once. So looks like my dogs are excited. They want to participate. um, anyway, I'm going to go ahead and elaborate more. So remember, there will be eventually one person who will want to help you. So keep that in mind as you're reaching out. Don't lose hope when you don't get responses. It's really nothing personal. These people are busy, so you just got to keep going, and eventually, trust me, there will be at least one person who will try to respond and get back to you and want to help you. So just keep that in mind. And when you connect, ask questions or for advice. Be prepared with questions or topics that you want to talk to them about. This is how you're going to cultivate that connection. Because if you're not prepared with questions or advice and you're just connecting with them, it's not really good on your time or their time either. You want to work on building that connection so that in the future, if you need anything or if they need anything from you, it's like it would be easier to ask versus if you just straight up ask, hey, can you give me a referral? Or, hey, can you tell me about your career? I kind of just want to follow the path that you're doing, whatever you're doing, Ask questions, ask how they're doing, ask, and then ask for advice. Make sure to try to keep it conversational so, people feel that they can help you. And yeah, that last point is just reiterating the importance of building connections, and learning about career journey and trying to connect with people and keeping that connection by asking questions, advice, etc. Because you never know if you might need to ask for a job referral in the future, So, and again, that is really, really, really beneficial to you as you are looking for jobs. It's like I said, I couldn't even imagine how much of an impact a job of referral had until I personally had one. And trust me, you want that. And advice. So try to start early. I can't emphasize this enough, because try to narrow down your career choices as early as you can. I've been saying this from the very beginning. Always have a backup plan too, just in case something doesn't work out or you find out that's not really something you're truly interested in. So I would have a backup plan just in case. Sometimes life has a funny way of testing us, and it doesn't hurt to be prepared for all those things. And build your connections. Don't just network with people that you already know. Try to network with other people, who are, really out of your reach, so you can see if they can help you, or, if that could land you a different opportunity in the future. Pay attention to that. And a small advice from personal experience there is that the best way to connect is to attend any virtual panels or any speaker events these people might be attending. For example, if you're looking up for someone if you want to connect with someone who's super senior in that field already, and they happen to be speaking at an event or for a panel, make sure to try to go to that. Before, it was definitely harder pre-COVID to, go to events because they're all scattered at all these different places, but now they're all virtual. So if you can, try to attend those panels and those speaker events. And then that will make it easier to add them on LinkedIn, because you can go ahead and say, hey, so I went to this event where you were speaking at, I really enjoyed this point that you made. Just wanted to connect with you on LinkedIn to learn more about your career, or, or something like that. And then most often than not, I guarantee you, they will add you. So that's one easy way to go about it, because if you just randomly email someone or send someone a LinkedIn message or a request, sometimes you might not get, a response, or they might not add you. But from a speaker event, more often than not, you will hear a response and they will connect with you. So try that. That's something that I learned when COVID started, when I was attending all these speaker events, and made a bunch of connections with people who were already in their very senior in their career field. So try that. And then work on your resume. I just want to talk a little bit about resumes, from personal experience. When I was started working on resumes, I was totally lost. I didn't know what to do. There was all these different ways of how to make your resume. And I just had no idea which one is the one. And you can keep working and working and working on your resume, and it still might not be perfect. I'm just going to straight out say it. So here's some advice that I wanted to share from my own personal experience. Is that reminder that if you plan to apply to big companies, they use a software called ATS to scan your resumes, and the ones that match the job description the most will most likely be reviewed by a recruiter, who will then determine if they want to call you for an interview. So because a lot of these companies have, it's not that they don't want to have a human eye look at all, your applications, but it's just sometimes it's very difficult. They get hundreds, if not thousands, of applications a day. And they use this software to really just scan, to give it a first scan to see if your resume is even close to what they want to hire in someone. So keep that in mind when you're writing your resume. Whenever I see a job post, just make sure to keep an eye out for any keywords. This also applies to internship posts or anything like that. If you decide to apply to any internships as well, make sure those keywords, you notice if they repeat certain words in a job posting, make sure those words are incorporated into your own resume somehow. It will help you get through that initial screening process, to at least get it to someone to look at it with their own eyes. And this software, ATS, prefers a simple format. Don't try to use any fancy pictures or weird fonts, because this software will not pick those words up, and your resume might get weeded out way ahead of time before it even gets to the recruiter. So beware of this. I didn't know this in the beginning when I was still somewhat inexperienced applying for stuff. And then I kind of learned this as I was applying. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I shouldn't do that. I shouldn't do that. And then, yeah, so that's my advice for you. And Canva is not good for this, because Canva uses a lot of those fancy fonts and like pictures and stuff like that. Unless 100% sure that it is a person who's going to look at your resume, I wouldn't bet on that. Just keep it simple and keep the fonts and everything simple. It might look boring, but you at the end of the day, you want the job, Also, PDF is the most preferred format to submit resumes. I've seen some people submit, docs and stuff like that, but PDF is definitely the most preferred way to do it. So keep that in mind whenever you get a chance to, apply for things. And have another person look at your resume. It never hurts to have a second pair of eyes scan through it, just to see if there's any errors, or if you missed anything. Sometimes you're kind of brain dead from like working on, different versions of your resume. You just don't catch things. And having a second pair of eyes don't hurt. Always double and triple check your grammar and spelling errors. I can't emphasize this enough. The last thing you want to happen is that for your resume to make it through the software system and a recruiter looks at it and you misspelled a word, and then you're like, no, you don't want that to happen. So double check, triple check your spelling, grammatical errors. Those are the basic things. You don't want to say on your resume that I'm a detail-oriented person, and you misspelled the word detail-oriented. Like, how embarrassing is that going to be? And now there's like Grammarly, and there's all sorts of, software out there that will check for spelling and grammar. You really have no excuse. So make sure to at least have those down. And I also want to talk about the way to talk to professionals. Basically, I just want to dive in a little bit to the interview process. Say your resume was great, made it through, you get an interview for an internship or for a work position. I want to emphasize practice, practice, practice. There's absolutely no substitution for this. Research the most common interview questions that whatever company that you're interviewing for or for that position and practice with somebody. You want to be ready and you don't want to sound, you don't want to sound very unconfident, not prepared, because right away when you interview with a recruiter, they're reading your body language, the way you're responding, and you want to be as prepared as possible. You don't want to be caught off guard, you made it this far. You don't want to be rejected because, you couldn't answer certain questions that you could have prepared for. You're going to be very angry with yourself. And then practice with another person will really help you because, you want to imitate as close as you can to what the actual thing will be. So that will really help you get your nerves out. And also remember, if you do get to the interview process, the interview person is also human, just like you. Don't try to imagine that, this is going to be this impossible, difficult thing. They're also human, they're preparing, and you're preparing. So just keep that in mind. They're also human. You're human. It's going to be okay. And one of the advice that I got really later on when I started job hunting was that you have to start to imply this STAR method into your answers during interviews. Basically, STAR stands for situation, task, action, and results. Basically, when they ask you a question, you want to give an example of a situation that you've been through, related to the question, of course, and then how you eventually got through that task, what kind of actions you did, and what kind of results that you get to show that you're capable of, given any situation, you are able to resolve successfully and work through it. To show your character and how you approach what's your process like, what's your character, and stuff like that through the STAR method. So if you get to the interview, keep that in mind to try to incorporate that into your answers. It will really help you a lot. And the process of career planning, when I just want to say, career planning and job hunting are very long and difficult processes. Ultimately, there will be rejections. Even if you get through the resume portion, get through the interview portion, you could still be rejected. And sometimes it just really hurts your self-esteem and confidence. But it's okay. We all go through that. No one can say that they've never gotten rejected from something before. That's just not possible. You have to realize it's nothing personal. It's part of the process. Stay positive and keep going for whatever thing that you're applying to. Rejection might not be a bad thing at the end too, because sometimes rejection could be a redirection to something that's even better. So keep that in mind. I remember when I got my first rejection, it really hurt because I was like, why wasn't I good enough? But don't be. It's part of the process. Sometimes you just got to apply to multiple things, and then eventually you get one thing, and then you'll be really grateful for it, because you have to keep in mind, don't focus on all the no's, just focus on that one yes, because that one yes will be the life changer. So yeah. And I just wanted to emphasize, yeah, attend virtual panels and speaker events if you can, because most of us are now, doing a lot of stuff from home, working from home, going to school from home. And we have that time to be able to attend virtual events and speaker events. And that's where you're going to be able to connect and hear someone share about their career journey, and be able to easily connect with them through LinkedIn as well. So try to attend those if you can. It is really helpful. And with that, I just want to say thank you. um, I am really glad that you came to really hear me speak about this, and I really hope that you found something helpful. I just really wanted to save this last slide to give you some advice, because these were some little things that I didn't know and had to figure out on my own. And hopefully, now that it'll be easier on you if you whatever you decide to pursue, whether you're just planning for a job or you're planning to hunt for go into a different career field, hopefully some of these will be able to help you out. And that's my goal. All right. And with that said, we can go ahead and hop into Q&As.
All right, so a lot of people have been asking questions in the chat, and if you have like any questions, you can just drop them in the chat, or you can also raise your hand and I can check it as well. So the first one from George was, what about endorsements? And he specified endorsements on LinkedIn.
Endorsements on LinkedIn. Yes. If you can get endorsements for certain skills on your LinkedIn page, definitely get them because that's to your benefit. If a recruiter, looks at your profile and they see that you have a lot of endorsements for certain skills that's relevant to the job that job internship that you're applying for, it only helps you. So I would say get them if you can, but I definitely don't think it's too much of a deal. You can still possibly land a position or an internship without like too many endorsements. But
Okay.
that's a good question.
Okay, so the next question is from Erica, and this is kind of a two-part question. She said, when did you know what your career path would be? And for people who are still unsure about what they want, do you have any tips on choosing a flexible path?
Yeah, like I said, I went through high school like not truly really knowing what I really wanted to do. I actually got admitted into UCSB on an accounting major. And then I ended up graduating from UCSB with a biological sciences major. So you kind of just have to really, that's why when I said in the beginning, you have to really go out of your way to really learn about your interests, to see, okay, is this a career you want to do, in the long run and stuff like that. You have a lot of resources in your hands, take advantage of them. And again, with job shadowing and talking to professionals who are already in that field to see, okay, what do you do on a daily basis? Is that something I want to do on a daily basis after I graduate from school? Those are questions that you want to ask yourself. And yeah, don't be afraid to try new things. Those new things could really teach you a lot about yourself and what you want to do. So I can say, Erica, go ahead and try new things, do some research and see, what are some possible areas that I'm thinking about right now and talk to people who are already in that field. And sometimes just taking classes might even help, maybe going online and checking out, okay, what's required of this job? Is this something I see myself doing? All those things will be able to help you, with your research.
Yeah. Okay, so the next question is from Irene, and she said, how do you find people you want to shadow?
Yes, good question. When I graduated with a biological sciences degree, I had a mentor whose mom was a physician's assistant, and that was something I was interested in when I was studying for my degree. And she offered to ask her mom to basically have this day to chat with me about what she does on a daily basis to see if that was interesting to me. So for you, I would recommend going on LinkedIn and message those people that you see and ask if it's possible to job shadow them, or if you have a family member who has a friend, or or if you have a friend who has someone who's in that field, ask them and see if they're available to help you. I would say definitely try the connections first, that you already have first before cold reaching, because if you're reaching out to strangers on LinkedIn, the response rate might not be as high. So try going through your own connections first, or asking your teacher, if they know someone that you can possibly job shadow in that field, because you might get faster responses that way. And it might be easier to set up because you're related to someone that they could trust, rather than someone just on LinkedIn. So those are my recommendations. But and also it might be a bit difficult to schedule one because of COVID, but I recommend, if they let you, via Zoom or via any other means, try to take advantage of those in a safe way if you can.
Oh, Erica has another question. Do you have any suggestions for like resume templates?
Resume templates. I Personally, I don't really use a resume template, but I've definitely seen some really good ones online. Um, I would suggest to just whatever template that you do end up using, or if you create your own, just try to keep it as simple as possible. Again, if you're applying to those positions in big companies, they're going to be using softwares to screen your resume. So you don't want to, follow a template that has, too much of those fancy pictures and fonts that might hurt you. So try to pick a simpler one, and keep in some sort of reasonable order, I think would be okay. So if you find those and want to use those, or if you just want to type out your own, that's perfectly fine too.
Okay, George has another question as well. What is the maximum number of careers that you can pursue?
Well, George, that's a really good question. There's really no maximum careers that you can pursue, you can graduate from high school knowing you want to be a doctor and then end up going to college and be like, yeah, I don't really want to be a doctor, and then you end up doing something completely different. Or after you graduate college, you get your first job and then you end up wanting to change to a different career because that wasn't a job that was fulfilling for you. There's really no maximum number of careers, but it's more so you're just trying to find something that you want to do that works with your lifestyle, I would say. So, but I just want to emphasize it's to your benefit to try to find out these interests early because switching careers can be very difficult, depending on what kind of career you want to switch into. You might need more education or need more practice or something like that. And it might be harder to get your foot in the door as you kind of like further and further away from graduating from college and stuff like that. So I just suggest, try to know your interests and what you want to get into early so that, you don't have to make all those difficult switches and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, there's really no maximum number of careers. You can always just change your mind if that's not something you want and you want to pursue something else. It's really up to you.
All right, we also got some questions from the RSVP forum. One of them was, what is the most useful website to find jobs?
Well, most useful. So a lot of common job websites, you have Indeed, you have LinkedIn, you have ZipRecruiter. Those are some really common ones, but I would say try to look at multiple platforms, because there are some platforms that are very specific to a certain job. Like there's websites specifically for remote opportunities. So depending on what kind of job you want to pursue, I would say research, what kind of websites offer what kind of jobs that you want, and then keep an eye on those, keep checking, set up alerts, and so that you're always first there. You're the first person to see that alert and, immediately start applying, because that's how you're going to stand out to the recruiter.
Okay, cool. So another question we had was how to plan, what is like the best way to plan your extracurriculars and your classes to get like the job that you want?
Hmm. That is an excellent question. Well, before you plan, you have to know what you want to get into. And after you know that, that's when you start thinking about, okay, I want to take these classes. I want to, volunteer in this specific area. But the great thing is that even if you end up changing your mind or, you don't know yet, a lot of the skills that you take a part-time position for, or if you volunteer for or do projects for, a lot of those skills are transferable. For example, if you work part-time, say at Yogurtland, and you're a customer service representative for Yogurtland, and some of these skills like working with a customer, being able to help close out at the end of the day, being detail oriented, those are soft skills that like from that you can use to transfer from that job to any future jobs that you can apply to. And when you are being interviewed or when you are writing out your resume, your bullet points, you can say, oh, I have this experience, of communicating well, working on my communication skills, while I was working at Yogurtland. Those are also ways that you can basically transfer those skills from one job to another if it's not totally related. But one way to go about it is just that if you figure out what you want to do early, then you can basically start aligning all your stuff, like the classes, clubs, and volunteer work, internships, all towards that goal and building that experience, and then it will be easier for you to look for a job once you try to get your foot in the door. So there's really no one way for that, uh, multiple ways. So, but the first thing you have to do is just know your interests first.
All right, that was a really good that was some really good advice. You guys are what's wait, hold on, sorry. Vivian sent a question in the chat. How do we maintain connections on LinkedIn?
Yes, that is the most difficult part. I struggle with that sometimes too because it's so, you don't really know these people, but you don't want to be like asking them for things and not really being responsive. That's, you want to build and cultivate a connection. So I would say really invest your time into building the connection by asking them how they are, getting to know them as well, not just what they can do for you. Because a lot of the times people view like connections on LinkedIn kind of like a transactional relationship, what can you do for me, but really try to think of it as like, you're trying to meet a friend, and if you keep asking your friend for things and you're not giving anything back to them, that's not good, so it has to be a two-way street. Ask them how they are, get to know them, maybe during the holidays, make sure to send them, hey, happy holidays, I hope you're doing well. Or also, if you are advancing in your career, make sure to let them know, hey, so I just wanted to let you know, thanks for connecting with me last time. I just wanted to let you know that I just got promoted or I got hired by X company, and just wondering how you're doing, and stuff like that. Keep them updated. This is stuff that you have to keep in touch with to really build that relationship. And next time, say for example, you're like, oh, so I just got my job at this company, worked there for a long time, and now I saw that there's this position at your company that I'm super interested in. I was wondering if I apply, if you can possibly give me a referral or something like that. After building all that relationship, when you finally ask for that, then they would be like, oh yeah, this person really made an effort to try to get to know me and, kept connected with me throughout these times, so you're at the likelihood of getting a yes might be higher than someone who's just like who just connected with LinkedIn, never talked to them again, and then afterwards like reach out, hey, so can I get a referral, so make sure to work on that, and then it'll be easier for you in the long run.
Okay, so I'm getting some private chats, and one question was, um, would you recommend going to like career fairs or anything that's like similar to that at school?
Yeah, if you can, definitely go to career fairs. I would say do your research though, and it will help you a lot. Say, for example, I have a career fair tomorrow at school or something like that. You would want to research who exactly is at that career fair, what companies are there, and then narrow down which companies you want to approach, and then know possibly if you can research who is going to be at the career fair representing these companies, so that for example, if X company is going to be at career fair and I want to work at X company, and I know that they are sending this person because this person on LinkedIn posted, hey, I'm going to be at this career fair at this school tomorrow, then I'm going to look at this person's profile and then I'm going to try to learn about them before I approach them and say, oh my God, so this person actually we graduated from the same school. Then I would approach this person at the career fair and say, hi, so I'm super excited to work for your company. And I noticed we graduated from the same school, and I just wanted to hand your resume because I'm super interested in this job. Um, and just by doing your research ahead of time, that person might be able to help you a little bit more, So I would say career fairs are great, but don't just show up blind. Do your research ahead of time, research the companies, the people who are going to be there if possible, and a lot of the times, these recruiters who are going to these career fairs will share on LinkedIn that they're going. So it might not be impossible to find out who's going to be there. And a lot of the times, you can find these posts by searching up hashtags on LinkedIn too. So do your research ahead of time, get your resume ready, and also maybe if possible, like go on their job page and see if you can apply to those jobs even before then, and let them know I already applied, just wanted to talk with you more about this role and stuff like that, and see if what they say in person. Or well, now most of the career fairs are virtual, so you can still ask them about that, and you just increase your likelihood of getting that job much higher, at least getting to the interview portion. So I recommend that. And if possible, if you are going to a career fair blind, I would say to really make the most out of it, make sure to note down who you were speaking to at the career fair, and make little notes of of like the conversations that you do speak to with these people, and then try to add them on LinkedIn afterwards.
Mhm.
And then after that, if they connect with you on LinkedIn, most of the time they will add you, because if you tell them that you were just at the career fair, they will add you. And then you can let them know. So, mention the career fair. Now I submitted the application for this position at your company. Just wanted to connect with you and to learn more, or to speak with you more about this position or something like that. And then you'll stand out a little bit more compared to people who just applied out of the blue.
Okay, amazing. Okay, another question is, should I accept a connection on LinkedIn if I don't know them and they haven't or like cold messaged me?
I would say be careful of who you accept on LinkedIn, because, again, there are certain people who, if you don't know this person, I would really discourage yourself against it. I personally don't really accept connections who I don't know this person, or we don't have any like mutual connections, or they didn't write a note of why they want to connect with me, because there's uh especially if you're female, because there's this, I've seen a lot of posts recently where some people, they accepted a connection, and then kind of like the people that they would connect to like ended up harassing them, sending them messages like, hey, I think you're good looking and stuff. Like, whoa there, this is a professional connecting website. Don't do that kind of stuff. And there are some people who don't use it for its intended purpose, so keep that in mind. Sometimes you don't know who you're connecting with, and they might not have the good intentions that you think they do. So just be careful.
Okay,
Use your best judgment.
this is kind of a follow-up question to the last one. Do you have any tips with handling weird connections on LinkedIn?
If it's really making you uncomfortable, I would just say block them, because LinkedIn is, it's a professional website. You're supposed to use it to job hunt, make connections, help lift each other up throughout the job hunting process and stuff like that. And if they're not using it for its intended purpose, and they're just, doing weird things, you don't want to be associated with this person, because when a person checks, if another person looks at their profile, they can see that you're a connection to them, and that's not going to look good for you either. So just beware of that. And if you are getting bullied, harassed, or whatnot, definitely block them off. You don't need that.
Okay, does anyone have any more questions? I think that's all from the chat. But if I miss you, then you can just, if you could just send it again, that would be great. But I'll just
Of
wait for like a little bit.
course, yeah. So thank you again for all of you for being here today. It's a Saturday. Uh, I'm sure most of you guys have better things to do when and I hope you learned something, and some of these tips actually helped you, because, I was there before, not sure what I wanted to do, career wise, and, I didn't know what could help me, what didn't help me, and didn't really learn about the resume and interview process until much later. So I really hope you guys pick something up today, that will really help you succeed. That
Um,
said, any more questions?
just a few people are responding in the chat. Mindy says, "Thank you so much. This was extremely helpful." And George asks, "Can you connect with us on LinkedIn?"
Yeah, sure. I mean, if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, go ahead. Just make sure that, you let me know that you were here today, and then I'll see that you were here, and yeah, that's fine.
And Rika also says, "Thank you."
You're welcome. Yeah, I'm glad you guys found this helpful, and thanks for spending Saturday with me.
All right, any last questions? Okay, I think we're
All
good.
right.
Thank you so much for coming today. It was super insightful.
Of course, it's my pleasure. I'm glad you guys are learning all these skills early.
Okay, thank you everyone for
Thank
coming today.
you. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, bye.